We have 3 stories in total for you guys today. The first story is posted by you/Biggest I do not care if you have cancer, my child deserves your seat. This encounter happened about 7 months ago. I do not want to insult your intelligence, because you most likely already know what M and me stands for. But I should say that Ek in this story stands for embarrassed kid, and OG stands for old gentleman. 60-some-year-old guy. The kid was very polite and sorry, so this story isn't about him. Also, I'm translating this into English, so bear with me. A little backstory: about a year ago, I was diagnosed with a cancer of the nasal cavity. Stage 2. The tumor was quite large, but thankfully got contained. To get it removed, I first had to undergo aggressive chemotherapy sessions to make it smaller. Thanks to the chemo, I had severe alopecia, hair loss, which made most of my hair, and even eyebrows and eyelashes fall out. At some point I had to go bald, but I wore a wig because I didn't want to look like a skinhead. Neo-Nazi. I'm 6'4" and pretty muscular, so I thought people would assume lol. So once, after a long chemo session in the hospital, I took the bus home. There's only one bus that goes from the hospital to where I live, so I took that one, only to see it was absolutely packed. I felt like crap thanks to the chemo, so I asked a middle-aged dude to let me sit. He was very understanding and gave me his spot without complaining. If you're reading this, thanks bro. To stops later, enter M, a lovely whale with an I demand a parley with the CEO haircut, and a 12-some-year-old kid. It took her roughly 5 seconds to see the bus was packed, start looking for a free seat, spot me, and start marching to me, or, in her case, trying to fit in the aisle between the seats, while shoving others aside. When I saw her, I knew I was screwed. She then stood next to me, and decided to talk to me. This is the conversation that followed. Hey, could you let my kid sit down? Me, you mean me? Who else? Me, oh, I'm sorry, but I'm on my way from the hospital and cutting me off, so are we, and we're coming straight from there. Nonsense, the stop was a few kilometers away from the hospital. My boy just broke his leg. Her kid was standing next to her, without any support, clearly embarrassed. Me, he's standing next to you completely fine. Look here, boy, I am 21 yo. My kid deserves to sit down. Me, look madam, I'm sorry, but I just got back from a chemo session in the hospital, and I need to sit down and rest. I then moved my wig a bit, to let her see my bald head, and then straight up started yelling in my face. Stop making excuses, and get off the F and hash it ing seat you fat $sign and ing skinhead piece of crap. At this point, I was baffled. I didn't know what to say. The kid was trying to make his mother stop, and we had the attention of the whole bus. She then grabbed me, and tried to yank me from my seat. I held on tight, and thankfully didn't fall off. Now enter Og, my savior. Og, will you shut the F, and hashtag K up you dumb cow. Who do you think you're talking to? Og, with ice-cold voice. Stop assaulting other passengers, or I will be forced to step in. Also, every dumb moron could see that the dude has cancer. No, he's just a F and at hashing skinhead. Og, he's got no eyebrows, you tramp. Seems like that really offended M, because she spun around on the spot and threw a falcon punch in Og's face. I was shocked and in disbelief. The whole bus was flabbergasted, and the kid probably wished he'd never been born. Og then said something unbelievable, and a golden, sweet karma moment followed. Og, okay, that does it. Harassing passengers on the bus, physical assault against a passenger, and now assaulting an officer. You're in deep trouble, lady. Og then pulled out a badge and told her to stay where she was. Then he pulled out his phone, called someone, and told her she was being arrested. I couldn't believe it. Og was a bloody cop. At this point, M was as white as a wall. The bus had just come to a stop, so she decided she'd make a run for it, but other passengers blocked her way. She then also got charged with resisting arrest thanks to this. 3 stops later, a police car was waiting for the M and Ek. Ek told me he was sorry for his mother's behavior, and I felt really sorry for the kid. He wasn't a bad child, but his mother was a hellspawn. Og then talked to me and asked me if I wanted to press charges, to which I gladly said yes. Took a statement, and thankfully was kind enough to let me solve everything on the phone, so I didn't have to come to the police station for questioning. In the end, M got some jail time. I think it was a few months, and some community service. I, in return, got a good story to tell and the sweet taste of instant karma Right now, I'm riding the same bus home, as I just got back home from the hospital after a checkup. Which reminded me of this. A friend, who's sitting next to me, told me I should post it here. He, as much as myself, also couldn't believe that such people existed. But it seems I proved it to him. I should also note that the surgery went well. I was declared cancer-free in November and my hair is slowly returning. Also, I don't need to wear a wig anymore. On to the second story written by you/professional dish. Em thinks we're a daycare. Well, her child is now gone. I used to work in a small chain of bookstores, stationery shops. We'd sell books, pens, paper, and so on. It was a quirky little store, straight out of a romantic love novella. Or a Stephen King book, if you prefer. This happened a few years ago, and I reconstructed from my memory, while trying to be as accurate as possible. But I can't guarantee it. The cast of this play, entitled Mother, LG, a South Korean multinational conglomerate corporation little girl. Me, a virtue example of a working class hero. Just me, ND, nice dad of little girl. The story, M walks into the store with LG. It's rather early in the morning. M looks around, asks me if I could watch her child. Me, oh no, I'm terrible with children. Sorry. M tells me that it's not for that long, and I shouldn't be such a fuss about it. I still politely refuse. It's not my job to watch children. I'm afraid to do something wrong. What happens? M leaves the store. Who do I find hidden in the corner? LG, who seems to be rather shy, fearful. This happened back in a time before everyone had smartphones. The kid obviously didn't have a mobile on it. I suspected the mother also wouldn't. Wasn't too surprised that LG didn't know the number of their landline. I sigh. What are you gonna do if something happens to that kid while being in the store and you being the only present employee? You're gonna have a bad time. Me, hey girl, what's your name? LG, her name. Me, I'm my name and surname. LG, happy like only kids can be if they think they did something smart. Or they knew something. My surname is surname. Now this rang a bell. I had a good customer with the same surname. It turns out that it's her dad. I didn't get paid enough to babysit. In fact, I didn't even got paid enough to do my normal work. I call her dad at his workplace, since we saved that number in our system. The call went along those lines. Me, hi ND, here's me from bookstore XY. ND, oh hi, me, how's it going? I don't remember having any open orders. Me, yeah, look, listen, do you have a daughter? ND, confused, yes, why do you ask? Me, what's her name? I just wanted to ensure it's really her dad, and not just a stupid coincidence. If I think now about it, LG told me it's her dad, so I don't know why I wasn't sure. ND apologizes for EM's behavior, and tells me he's gonna pick LG up as soon as possible. While waiting for ND, I picked up one of our sale books. Box with damaged books that we try to sell with huge discount before throwing away. A picture book from Disney. LG tries to read a little, I read a little. ND arrives, LG runs to him and hugs him, crying that mommy was mean to her. ND soothes her and thanks me for babysitting her. He gives me a bottle of wine and buys something small from the store. ND, if M shows up again, could you not tell her that I picked up LG? Me, what? Why? ND, if you don't feel like it, you don't need to. It's rather complicated, and you already did so much for us. ND leaves. In the evening, M shows up. Just to point out, she dropped LG at about 9. It was 17:45. M, where's my daughter? Me, already chugged about half the bottle of wine, and thus a little boozed. You're what? M, my daughter. I dropped her in this store and you were here. Me, waited drunk for work, but already decided to go for another job. Or homeless, both would have been better. You're what? And was on the edge. Thus I did what I thought was the smartest thing to do. Me, a guy came into the store and picked her up. He seemed nice, gave me some wine for her. At this point I expected her to explode, attack me, but she just left the store. A few weeks pass, and ND and LG come to the store, both happy to see me. ND asks me if I got a few minutes, an excuse not to work. Obviously I took the time for customer service. Gave LG the same book we've read the last time, and had a talk with ND. M and ND were in the middle of a divorce when M dropped LG at our store. One of the reasons ND wanted a divorce was that M wasn't nice to LG. Now in my country as a male, it's rather hard to get custody for your child. No matter what, LG wanted to be with ND, but that doesn't matter. M dropping LG in our store was a gift of the heavens. ND took LG to his sister overnight and pretended that LG was sleeping at one of her friends. ND wanted to call them just to ensure that LG is fine. Didn't wanted that. LG friend didn't knew where LG is. Claimed she dropped LG at LG's friend. ND faked panic and involved the police. Insisted that LG's friend kidnapped LG. Police asked ND and M separately, and ND told the police what happened. Still insisted on her dropping LG at LG's friend. ND had proof of it being otherwise, since he already called the police when he dropped LG at his sister's house. Now in court, ND apparently said something like, "M can have all she want, even my wine collection. I just want to be with my daughter." Knowing that ND didn't had any money left and had some quite expensive wines agreed. Daughter ended up with ND, mother paying alimony. What M didn't knew, ND was replacing his wine collection before the divorce with the cheapest wines he could find at different discounters, gifting away the expensive ones. He knew that M either is gonna take everything from him or will break his wine collection. We both laugh. I gifted the book to LG, who seemed very happy. When M dropped her, she was shy, seemed small, and now she had such a big smile on her face and was curious for everything. She could read much better than a few weeks ago. She seemed like a bird taking off to fly towards the sun. I absolutely hated my job, but situations like these make me a little bit nostalgic. Somehow I miss direct interactions with customers. On the other hand, I obviously don't. On to the third story shared by you/TopGorilla17. Let them eat cake. Long ago, way back in the before time, I worked for one of those bulk warehouse club stores. My trade was simple. I was a wrangler of the Silver Buffalo and dutifully retrieved the old ghetto strollers I did. The job in and of itself wasn't the worst I'd ever had. I got plenty of exercise, got to be outside, and generally didn't have to interact with the members. Calling them customers was taboo, for the most part. The thing about this job is that the company I worked for had a reputation for being cheap. Thusly, more often than not, I was on my own out in the parking lot. Big whoop, you might say. You gathered carts. You should see how hard my job is. Yeah, well, shut up. This is my story, but munch, I digress. The reason that being alone sucked is that this store didn't have just one kind of cart. Hell, they didn't even just have two kinds of carts. You had your classic garden variety cart, the kiddie cart with the plastic facade to make it resemble a car, the electric scooters, which weren't supposed to leave the store, but did so with alarming frequency. And finally, the bulky, hard-to-control flatbeds. On top of that, whenever someone needed help loading their haul into their minivans, I was the guy they called. You know, because the greeters, cashiers, and managers were all busy. As you might expect, one man cannot be in multiple places at once. And as a result, on some of our busier days, it became incredibly difficult to keep enough carts in the vestibule. Our story begins on one of these days. So there I was, chugging along like a good worker drone, struggling to keep up with the sheer volume of people coming in to buy cheap bulk goods. Sure enough, I get a call on the radio. Manager Top Gorilla 17. We need you to help some members to load their purchases. Mia, I'd love to, but I'm barely able to keep up out here as is. Manager, just do it. Top Gorilla 17. You can afford to stop gathering carts for 2 minutes. Ron Howard, he couldn't. I didn't want to push my luck, so I complied. After spending 20 minutes loading people's purchases, because when one person needs it, suddenly they all need it, I came back to find my vestibule a near ghost town, save for a single line of carts that was half gone. And the Karen. I won't waste time describing this specimen. She was the prototype. You know what she looked like. There she stood, menacing, tapping her foot with such speed that could make any metal drummer green with envy. You could collect the contempt in her gaze in a jar. Karen, where are the big flat ones? I blanked for a moment. Me, I'm sorry. Karen, ugh. Mexicans. For the record, I'm very much white. Karen, where are the flat ones? Me, oh, you mean the flatbeds. I'm sorry, I was just helping some other members load their merchandises and haven't had a chance to. Karen, oh my God, I don't care about your excuses. You have one job, and a trained monkey could do it. I just want this lady out of my face, so I don't fight it. Me, sorry ma'am. I'll grab one from the parking lot for you. Karen, you'd better. So I go back out to the lot and find a whole line of flatbeds sticking out of a corral, blocking several parking spaces. I push them all into the vestibule, where she waits, huffing about how I'm wasting her valuable time. I separate one from the rest and bring it to her. I'm terribly sorry about the wait, ma'am. She leers at me with utter malice. Karen him PF. Unbelievable. And with that, she dismisses herself into the store, where she will be someone else's problem. I shake my head and return to doing what I'm paid to do. About 15 minutes later, I'm returning a line of carts, when I see her pushing her flatbed to her Miata and jawing about stupid people, most certainly referring to me, on her cell phone. You know what she had bought? What she had insisted on having a flatbed for? A cake. This wasn't even like a big cake. It was one of those little circular numbers, like this. Anyways, I witness as she continues to yammer on about how I nearly ruined I tell you her precious baby's birthday party. When the most glorious thing happened, still clutching her phone with those giant scoop claws of hers, she attempts to pick up the cake with one hand. The plastic topper pops off, and she spills the cake all over her undoubtedly expensive designer outfit. Seething with white-hot rage, she locks eyes with me. Karen, you, get me another cake. Now, me terribly sorry, ma'am. I've got one job, and these carts won't gather themselves. I walked away, poop-eating grin plastered on my face, as her shrieks faded into the distance behind me. That's it for the video. See you guys in the next one.